Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Doncaster, the home of XH558 Vulcan and the Vulcan to the Skies project. Luckily enough, we've got a whole host of people here with us today who are all the volunteers that work for the group, and this particular man himself, Jim Buchanan. Jim Debenham. Jim Buchanan. Why do I know? I know someone called Jim Buchanan. That's why. Jim Debenham.
He does voiceovers.
Yes, I believe he does. There we go. But anyway, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks.
Good. So, Jim, apologies, folks. Just a little bit of an audio issue there. I believe we had a bit of a click going on there. Anyway, Jim, we've got a fueling rig turning up. Just explain what's happening right now.
Basically, in order to do tomorrow's run, we need quite a bit of fuel. So she will burn a lot of fuel tomorrow. So we're just about to put about 8,000 litres into the tank. We've already got 12,000 litres on board, so by the time we finish today there'll be 20,000 litres on board for tomorrow. And for those of you that are good at maths, it's about 60p a litre, so it's quite expensive.
So you're putting quite a lot on board because obviously, like you say, extensively you're running it up for an hour, for about an hour, all the engines.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were just mentioning that the aircraft is out exposed to the elements during the winter.
Yes.
She's doing remarkably well, because I believe this is the third year, is it? This is
the third winter she's been outside, but we have got a dedicated group of volunteers. She's not just sat out here. We do keep her clean, we keep her polished, we make sure that everything's done that needs doing over the winter. I have personally spent time out here in howling gales and snow and all the rest of it, just sorting the jet out. But yeah, she is looked after. We keep a close eye on her, and we make sure, even through the winter, we will spin the engines. Obviously, we won't inject any fuel, but we will spin them just to give them a turn, just to make sure that everything's working fine.
And that's using the air starter system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll fire up the air starter, introduce some air in, just a quick blast into each engine, so that we can just spin the engines just to make sure that everything's okay. We'll boroscope the engines over winter just to make sure that there's nothing untoward in there. I mean, you've seen the engine this morning that you looked at in Delta Court, and we'll boroscope the engine looking for that kind of damage. Not that we ever find it. The engines are in quite good condition for her age, you know. So as far as Rolls-Royce is concerned, they're no longer flyable, but they're still good for what we needed to do.
Yes, and of course we must remember we're at an active international airport here.
Yes,
so you know, rules and regulations are all in place. And so what is the procedure? What are you actually? I see you put the electric system into the aircraft.
Yeah, we've put a 28 volt onto the aircraft. She has two different power systems, 228. For refueling we need a 28 volt. So we've hooked up the 28 volt lead. Tomorrow we'll hook up both, so she'll have 28 and 200 on. And that allows the guys to get up in the cockpit. Sam's up in the cockpit now, reading the dials, moving stuff around, because what they'll do is they'll pump it into one tank, and then they'll move it around and put it in another tank, and so that the fuel's evenly distributed across the jet. And by the time we finish tomorrow night, there'll be enough weight in the tanks just to be sure that the jet stays where she needs to be over winter. So we keep that bit of extra fuel in number one tank at the front end, so we keep the counterbalance at the front end, so if we're getting heavy snow and it's sitting on the wings, she doesn't tip up. Very
interesting. So once this refueling is done, or the fueling is done, what are we doing then? Is that right, closed down for the night?
For today, yeah, that's it. Then tomorrow morning we'll be back here. There'll be more of us tomorrow. I believe we've got 12 volunteers in tomorrow just to look after the jet, and we'll do things in the morning like checking the tyres, making sure they're all okay, putting pressure in them if they need it. We like to make sure that everything's running hunky-dory. We'll run the rigs in the morning just to make sure everything starts, get them nice and warm before we go down to the test bay. And then obviously we'll hook the jet up. The public will come in from, they meet at the Ramada across the airfield. They'll come in through CP1 where you've come today, and they have to go through the exact same process that you've been through today. They have to be passed up, and they'll get off the coach, go into CP1, get on the coach at the other side, and the coach will bring them down here to see whatever we're doing. Occasionally we're ready to go, but quite often they'll get off the bus and come and have a look at what we're doing if we're still working.
Of course.
Because we've got oil to put in the engines as well tomorrow morning. We don't leave her full of oil because, like most vintage vehicles, she has a little drip here and there. And if we leave her full of oil, that oil just ends up on the floor and wasted. So what we do at the end of every run, while it's warm, we drain it off into tanks, so we know what's come out of number 1 engine, that goes back into number 1 engine, and so on and so forth.
I see. Okay, so the air start system that you're running here,
Yes.
Obviously the aircraft has its own APU.
Yes.
Do you run the APU of the aircraft up tomorrow?
We may well do. It depends on how things go. TAF may well want to run it, because what does happen is fuel gets dumped into the APU tank, and if it gets too full it overflows. So what we'll do, if there's a lot of fuel in the tank, we'll run the APU just to burn off the fuel, so that it doesn't overflow.
But in general,
we've no need to run it, not as such, but we will run it just to make sure that everything's working okay and that she's doing what she's supposed to do.
Okay, so just to reiterate to the people watching that there will be a short taxi run under power back to this position here.
We taxi back from the ground running bay, which is right down the far end of where we are now.
So she's towed from this position.
She's towed from here to the ground running bay, and then we taxi her back to Zulu 6, which is where the red and white barriers are there. Yes. So we tow her back, which she taxis back under her own steam to there, and the coach with the customers on will come up to that point. They'll then disembark and watch a taxi in. One lucky customer will get to marshal the aircraft in with a bit of supervision from one of us. And that's all part of his day that he's paid for. He'll get some time up in the cockpit, and he spends his time under the jet with us. Or she, could be a she, I'm not sure tomorrow.
You have a tremendous amount of wheel good. That's being picked up by this Jilly. So on your website or through the trust, I believe that you have a system where people can, for a small amount of money, get their name on the aircraft. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we've just launched a Names Under the Wing campaign to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the aircraft's first test flight. So that's actually in May, but we've started that off running now. And that for 30 quid, you can have your name put under the wing. The names will go on, I believe it's June time when they go on, when the weather gets a bit warmer, and you know, it's a little bit better, because if you put it on when it's wet, it's just going to fall off.
Yeah.
So,
but that's great for people who want to have that sort of like personal touch with the aircraft as well.
We get people, we have run this campaign before, we get people who love the aircraft, the parents flew the aircraft, the parents worked on it, ground crew worked on it, they want to get their names on it. Because she is an iconic aircraft at the end of the day. She doesn't fly anymore, but she's still an iconic aircraft, which you will see tomorrow.
Indeed, and we'll get to hear her engines. Yes. That's the main thing.
Definitely.
So, in terms of the aesthetically, she looks very, very clean.
Yes.
Cleaner than a lot of commercial aircraft, I must say.
We have a group of dedicated people that like to come and give her a clean every now and again. And we'll have a day when we're all down here. We'll do a little bit of maintenance, and we'll have a crew of people in that come in and give her a wash, or wash the bits that need doing.
And hopefully one day she may be inside a hangar.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay, well Jim, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, we will leave it there. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow morning. What sort of time are we talking about? It's quite an early start, isn't it?
The ground crew will be in from 7:30ish. We'll be down here for our 8:45, and then the public join us about 10 o'clock, and then we're out to the test bay. We'll run for about an hour on the test bay. We're probably back in the hotel with the customers at about 2, then obviously we have the jet to put to bed. So we put all the covers back on, make sure everything's all right, drain the oils down and things like that.
Okay, so folks, just so that you are aware, we are going to be here at the aircraft side, basically following these guys, doing everything that they're doing in the morning before the public arrives. So be ready for around about 8 AM to get some close-up stuff. We'll obviously be taking the camera all underneath the aircraft. Engine covers will be coming up.
We'll be off in the morning. We'll be doing the tyres, doing the checks up in the cockpit. We will have a pilot here tomorrow, Adrian Sumner, ex-wing commander. So he pilots the aircraft now, so he'll do the taxi. We have an ex-navigator, Malcolm Staniforth. He's the guy in the back that does all the electrics. One of our volunteers also does all the electrics. He's spent the last sort of 18 months learning how to be an AEO on a Vulcan. Quite a big challenge,
yes,
but he's there, he's doing it, but he has got some good guidance, a guy that's done it for many years.
Yes, wow, so, fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so we've got quite a lot to get through in the morning, even before the aircraft is towed to the testing bay. So make sure you look out for your notifications tomorrow morning, folks. And on behalf of the Vulcan to the Skies Trust, just want to say a big thanks to everybody here, to yourself, Jim, of course, to Ian, and Taff and Sam as well, and of course the other guys that are turning up tomorrow. Look forward to it. Make sure you tune in. Thanks very much indeed. See you later. Bye bye.